whole thing seemed very like, you know, the Top Gun in like prison and the little shrimp coming in. That's what it seemed like, the way Amber was sitting and stuff. She's like, you want to be a boss, or do you want to work for someone, Leah? You want to be a boss like your mom? Are you going to take over my businesses? Can you even name my businesses? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Are we on a roll this week, or are we on a roll with the videos, right? If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. And if you're a subscriber, there's this little bell right by the subscription button that you need to hit if you want to be notified every single time I upload a video. You don't have to do it, but I'm just letting you know just in case you do. The 24th episode of season 6B of Teen Mom OG kicked off with Gary telling Amber and Matt that he and Christina are going to be moving, and it turns out that the home that they bought is going to be closer to Amber and Matt. Like, obviously I don't think they bought it for that purpose, but Amber does say that it's really nice that they're going to be moving a little bit closer because it cuts down their drive to only about 20 minutes. And then next we move on over to Farrah, her basketball booty, and her wig as they tell their producers that they want to move to San Diego, California, which is where her non-boyfriend Simon lives, right? And so she talks about potentially renting out or selling her LA home when they ask her why she wouldn't just move over there because she already has real estate. And she says that the reason that she doesn't want to be in LA is because the first time she lived there, she kind of fell in with the wrong crowd, and it really changed the course of her life. And I'm assuming she's talking about her sex tape. And so, oh, this is my boosie. Next up, Ryan and Mackenzie talk about their upcoming wedding, and Ryan reveals that his dad is going to be his best man, and Bentley is going to be his mini best man as well. And so in that moment, I was like, that's really cute or whatever, but it kind of really reminds me how he doesn't seem to have any friends anymore. He's never really been like a super popular social guy, kind of like Maci and Taylor have been. We've seen them with a lot of friends, but like I was actually kind of sad for him. Like, your dad is going to be your best man? Like, really? Are you sure about that? Bachelor parties and all that stuff. Really? You want your dad to be your best man? But you know what? That's none of my business. And then he also reveals that he actually asked Mackenzie's son Hudson for permission to have her hand in marriage, which I also thought was super duper cute as well. And yet another Teen Mom OG crossover, Catelynn calls Maci to ask about how Ryan's doing. You know how Maci really opened up to her and the rest of the girls last episode. Catelynn just wanted to check in on her, and Maci let her know that she hasn't really heard much from Ryan, and she's not expecting too much, you know, for the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, because she, you know, foresees it being difficult to get him to even think about rehab right now as he's planning a wedding. That conversation is quickly followed up by this really awkward and uncomfortable scene between Maci and Bentley about him not pooping in school. And it was just a reminder to me that, man, these poor kids have never had any privacy a day in their lives. This show probably should have ended a couple years ago. A side note though, I do have to mention Maci looked super pretty in that scene. I really loved everything she had going on with her like hair and makeup and stuff like that. And so now let's jump into Catelynn. Speaking of Catelynn, earlier in the scene, she calls her adoption counselor Dawn to let her know that she wants to talk to her about this foundation that she and Tyler want to open in cohesion with their clothing line Tiara Rain. She also wants to speak to her about what's going on between themselves and Brandon and Teresa in terms of communication when it comes to their first daughter Carly and that whole adoption fiasco. And so she invites her over to their new home over in Farrah's world. She had a really quick non-scene where all she pretty much said was that Simon was always kind of jealous about her relationship with Daddy Derek in the past, and like anytime she would bring it up, and that was unacceptable to her in a mate because her past is really important to her. And then we quickly move back on over to Catelynn and Tyler's home, where little Nova shows Dawn around her room and quickly picks up a pile of poop to show her about the sort of things that her parents allow in the household. And I forgot to mention this earlier when I was kind of previewing the scene, but Catelynn also let us know that she asked Brandon and Teresa, namely Teresa, whether or not they can name the foundation that they want to start after their first daughter Carly, and Teresa essentially ghosted them. And in their conversation with Dawn about all the things that they're starting in Carly's honor and all the things they're collecting to show her that they loved her and they really didn't just throw her out and stuff like that, I really got to understand like where all of this overcompensation came from, and really seriously, severely really empathize with the two of them. They were so young and in such a really tough situation, and it could not have been easy to, first of all, make that decision, and second of all, live the privileged life that they do now, which they never in a million years thought they ever would be able to, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's what makes the adoption all the more difficult for them. Now let's head back over to Indiana, where Matt and Amber pull up to Gary's home, and Matt wonders whether or not Gary owns pants, while the rest of us are still wondering whether or not Matt himself owns condoms. The two of them were over there to pick up Amber's daughter Leah for the weekend visit, and you could just see it in Amber's eyes how jealous she was of Gary's new home when she was like, 9 acres, 90 chickens. You can tell she was so jealous that Gary is in a loving relationship with a happy home, another child he loves, and is able to spend his money his way, whereas she's in a really abusive relationship with a really shitty person who she has to spend a lot of her money on, right? Like, all of the legal fees this man comes with are just mind-blowing. And before leaving, Amber tries to finesse some extra time with Leah off of Gary by kind of trying to use her last weekend's voluntary Puerto Rico trip as an excuse for even missing the time with her daughter and saying, can I have a couple of extra hours? I deserve it. I missed her last weekend. Well, because you chose to. Back down in Tennessee, Maci and Taylor stage a fight in order to create a storyline that her friend Keely could segue into the next day. So she complains that her marriage might be in trouble because she and Taylor fight for all of 15% of their relationship, which to me seems pretty normal, probably high for me, but like still in the realm of normalness, right? And then her friend suggests that they go to counseling. I think this is all bullshit, so I'm not even really going to dignify it. Let's just move on over here, guys. While Dawn was visiting Catelynn and Tyler's home, she told Catelynn that it might be best for her to figure out what is missing within already existing charities. And so one of the things that she found might, align with her goals is a charity called Blue Water Pregnancy Center. So she heads on over there to talk about her foundation goals, and she learns that there aren't many maternity homes for pregnant minors, and this is what she really wants to focus on. I personally think it's great that we're seeing someone really showcase the ins and outs and inner workings of a charity, but I know that a lot of you guys disagree with the sort of charity that she's teaming up with, and I'm gonna cover that in a later video. Now we're kind of at the MTV studios where things get really meta because we see Farrah preparing for an after show that just aired. If I'm not mistaken, we don't get them in Canada, so I don't know for sure, but she's preparing for this like dating show, like blind date kind of thing, and in her voiceover she literally says that she's getting ready for the show and she's annoyed that Simon's in town and decided to visit her while she's working on dating other people. And I'm like, well, how the hell did Simon even know you were in town? How did he get your address to like pop on up over here, girl? Like, I'm pretty sure you gave it to him. It was that cute guy from Are You the One named Asif who ultimately won a date with Farrah. So he took her and her wig on over to the spa and even gave her a bouquet of flowers as well. And he seemed to come off like a really kind of like fanboy type. I find that body language is really important, especially when you're trying to make a first impression on a date. So both women and men, I don't want to say, but so both women and men really need to work on like exuding confidence, right? And Asif did not do that whatsoever. Like, yeah, he complimented her by saying, I'm so happy to be with you because you're a boss woman and stuff, but like he was like fidgeting on his chair, like sitting around like a little kid or something like that. And I don't think that's something, I don't think that's the sort of vibe that someone like Farrah would be interested in. And it was pretty obvious that she wasn't all that attracted to him beyond like his face and stuff like that. He didn't have that like oomph or strength or je ne sais quoi that someone like Farrah would need in a man. And so she kind of cuts the date short. She was so ready. I feel like she also saw through him for being a reality whore, and she was like ready to like jump on out of that date, wet toes and all, from that little pedicure thing. And Asif was like, oh wait, I gotta get a photo for my mom. Groupie. Back in the wonderful world of Amber, she has little Leah sit down in the washroom with her so she could do her baby hooker makeup, which is her words, not mine. And they talk about Amber being an alleged businesswoman, boss woman, and the whole thing seemed very like, the Top Gun in like prison and the little shrimp coming in. That's what it seemed like, the way Amber was sitting and stuff. She's like, you want to be a boss or do you want to work for someone, Leah? You want to be a boss like your mom? Are you going to take over my businesses? Can you even name my businesses? And so Leah's like, housekeeping, makeup, and the clothing boutique. And so she didn't seem all that interested in taking them up. And you guys, Leah is sharp as a whip. She knows these are just little fly-by-night businesses that probably are not going to stand the test of time. And that's not a knock on Amber. That's not me wishing ill on Amber. This is me being a realist. You know how we thought that Farrah was going to be moving to San Diego this entire time? Well, all of a sudden she FaceTimes her mom and says that she's decided that she and Sophia are going to be moving to LA. And the conversation goes so well that I'm really believing that hypnotherapy session that they did a couple episodes back actually did work. One thing that seriously concerned me about Farrah's move was the fact that she literally just opened 3 businesses within the span of a year. So who, first of all, opens 3 businesses in 3 very difficult markets within the span of a year and then subsequently leaves them as well? That seems kind of crazy, but you know what? It's her life. I'm just watching it. As the episode winds down, we see Matt pick up Amber's daughter Leah from karate, which gives me the heebie-jeebies considering he can't even be bothered to say hello to half of his children, right? And so in her voiceover, Amber lets us know that she doesn't want to drop Leah off at Gary's because she is mad that she didn't get any more time with her. And I'm just here like trying to understand the logic, you know, like, you are sad that you didn't get any more time with your daughter. So to handle the sadness, you are going to spend even less time with your daughter that you want more time with. You know, and I could see this from Gary's perspective where it's like, how the heck do I give you more time when you can't even make the most of the time that I do give you? And Gary did not even stiff her for time. She voluntarily chose to ditch her daughter last weekend to hang out with her friends in Puerto Rico. And this time around, she dropped her off at 12, which is what it's always been. So don't believe Amber's crocodile tears here, guys. Anyway, when Matt dropped Leah off to the home, it was all a surprise. Gary and Christina had moved all of their things into a new home without telling Leah. Leah like immediately notices that it's all their stuff everywhere, but she doesn't understand why it's in a different home. And then Gary tells her, it was a pretty cute scene, you guys. We are getting down to the final 2 scenes right here. Amber, in like some random room in her home, starts bitching to producers and a little bit to Matt as well about how the real reason she wants to revise what she said in her voiceover, that she didn't go to drop Leah off at Gary's house, was because she feels like Gary is taunting her with things like excessive acreage, excessive chickens. And it's like, chick, you have excessive dogs. You don't see him bitching about that and skipping out on time with his daughter over that. Gary doesn't even say much of anything to her these days. So all of her excuses were just bitterness, jealousy, and hot air. How about that? And in the very final scene, we see Maci and Taylor go on over to a counselor. And guys, I have to ask you really quickly, have they done this before? Because the woman looked really familiar to me and I don't know why. And they talk about their communication issues, their different love languages, I guess, things like that. I thought that they were doing this just for a storyline, but the 2 of them did look very flushed in that meeting. So I guess some of it might be real, even though everything seems kind of normal to me, except for, like I said again, they're kind of seemingly excessive drinking habits. But that concludes our recap of the 24th episode of Teen Mom OG Season 6B. As always, I am much more interested in hearing what you have to say about all of these shenanigans. So make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well. And follow me across social media where I absolutely do love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.